Day 218, Exile, Isaiah 57 through 58, Ezekiel 17 through 18, Proverbs 13 verses 5 through 8. Let's begin. Isaiah 57:58. The just man perishes, and there is no one who acknowledges it in his heart, and men of mercy are taken away, for there is no one who understands. For the just man has been taken away before the face of malice. Let peace arrive. Let he who has walked in his righteousness find rest on his bed. But come here, you sons of the prophetess, you offspring of an adulterous man and a fornicating woman. Whom are you mocking? Against whom have you opened your mouth wide and wagged your tongue? Are you not sons of wickedness, a lying offspring, who are being consoled by idols under every leafy tree, immolating little children at the torrents, under the high rocks? Your portion is in the currents of the torrent. This is your lot. And you yourselves have poured out libations to them, you have offered sacrifice. Should I not be angry over these things? Upon a high and lofty mountain, you have placed your bed, and you have ascended to that place to immolate victims. And behind the door, and beyond the post, you have set up your memorial. For you uncovered yourself next to me, and you received an adulterer. You widened your bed, and you formed a pact with them. You loved their bed with an open hand. And you have adorned yourself for the king with ointments, and you have increased your cosmetics. You have sent your representatives to distant places, and you have debased yourself all the way to hell. You have been wearied by the multitude of your own ways. Yet you did not say, I will cease. You have found life by your own hand. Because of this you have not prayed. For whose sake have you been anxiously afraid, so that you would lie and not be mindful of me, nor consider me in your heart? For I am silent, and I am like someone who does not see, and so you have forgotten me. I will announce your justice, and your works will not benefit you. When you cry out, let your followers free you. But the wind will carry them all away, a breeze will take them up. But he who has faith in me will inherit the earth and will possess my holy mountain. And I will say, make way. Grant passage. Move to the side of the path. Take the obstacles out of the way of my people. For this is said by the Most High, the Sublime One, who dwells in eternity. And his name is holy, for he dwells in the exalted and holy place, and he acts with a restrained and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart of the contrite. For I will not contend unceasingly, and I will not be angry to the end. For I will exhale my breath, and the Spirit will go forth from my face. Because of the iniquity of his avarice, I was angry, and I struck him down. I concealed my face from you, and I was angry. And he went astray by wandering in his heart. I saw his ways, and I healed him, and I led him back again, and I restored consolations to him and to those who mourn for him. I created the fruit of the lips, peace, peace to him who is far away, and peace to him who is near, said the Lord, and I healed him. But the impious are like the raging sea, which is not able to be quieted, and its waves stir up dirt and mud. There is no peace for the impious, says the Lord God. Cry out. Cease not. Exalt your voice like a trumpet, and announce to my people their wicked acts, and to the house of Jacob their sins. For they also seek me, from day to day, and they are willing to know my ways, like a nation which has done justice and has not abandoned the judgment of their God. They petition me for judgments of justice. They are willing to draw near to God. Why have we fasted, and you have not taken notice? Why have we humbled our souls, and you have not acknowledged it? Behold, in the day of your fasting, your own will is found, and you petition for payment from all your debtors. Behold, you fast with strife and contention, and you strike with the fist impiously. Do not choose to fast as you have done even to this day. Then your outcry will be heard on high. Is this a fast such as I have chosen, for a man to afflict his soul for a day, to contort his head in a circle, and to spread sackcloth and ashes? Should you call this a fast and a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this, instead, the kind of fast that I have chosen? Release the constraints of impiety, relieve the burdens that oppress, freely forgive those who are broken, and break apart every burden. Break your bread with the hungry, and lead the destitute and the homeless into your house. When you see someone naked, cover him, and do not despise your own flesh. Then your light will break forth like the morning, and your health will improve quickly, and your justice will go before your face, and the glory of the Lord will gather you up. Then you will call, and the Lord will heed. You will cry out, and he will say, Here I am. If you take away the chains from your midst, and cease to point your finger and to speak what is not beneficial. When you pour out your life for the hungry, and you satisfy the afflicted soul, then your light will rise up in darkness, and your darkness will be like the midday. And the Lord will give you rest continually, and he will fill your soul with splendor, and he will free your bones, and you will be like a watered garden and like a fountain of water whose waters will not fail. And places that have been desolate for ages will be built up by you. You will raise a foundation for generation after generation. And you will be called the repairer of hedges, who turns the roadways into quiet places. If you restrain your foot on the Sabbath, from doing your own will on my holy day, and if you call the Sabbath delightful, and the holy of the Lord glorious, and if you glorify him, while you do not act according to your own ways, and your own will is not found, not even to speak a word, then you will find delight in the Lord, and I will take you up, above the heights of the earth, and I will nourish you with the inheritance of Jacob your father. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Ezekiel 17:18. And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, propose an enigma and describe a parable to the house of Israel. And you shall say, Thus says the Lord God, a large eagle, with great wings and elongated pinions, full of feathers with many colors, came to Lebanon. And he took the kernel of the cedar. He tore off the summit of its branches, and he transported it to the land of Canaan. He placed it in a city of merchants. And he took from the seed of the land and placed it in the ground for seed, so that it might take firm root above many waters. He placed it at the surface. And when it had germinated, it increased into a more extensive vine, low in height, with its branches facing toward itself. And its roots were underneath it. And so, it became a vine, and sprouted branches, and produced shoots. And there was another large eagle, with great wings and many feathers. And behold, this vine seemed to bend its roots towards him, extending its branches toward him, so that he might irrigate it from the garden of its germination. It had been planted in a good land, above many waters, so that it would produce branches and bear fruit, so that it would become a large vine. Speak, thus says the Lord God, what if it does not prosper? Should he not pull up its roots, and strip off its fruit, and dry up all the branches that it has produced, and let it wither, though he is without a strong arm and without many people to pull it up by the root? Behold, it has been planted. What if it does not prosper? Should it not be dried up when the burning wind touches it, and should it not wither in the garden of its germination? And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Say to the provoking house, Do you not know what these things signify? Say, Behold, the king of Babylon arrives in Jerusalem. And he will take away its king and princes, and he will lead them away to himself in Babylon. And he will take one from the offspring of the king, and he will strike a pact with him, and receive an oath from him. Moreover, he will take away the strong ones of the land, so that it may be a lowly kingdom, and may not lift itself up, and may instead keep his pact and serve it. But withdrawing from him, he sent messengers to Egypt, so that it would give him horses and many people. Should he who has done these things prosper and obtain safety? And should he who has broken the pact go free? As I live, says the Lord God, in the place of the king, who appointed him as king, whose oath he has made void, and whose pact he has broken, under which he was living with him, in the midst of Babylon, he shall die. And not with a great army, nor with many people will Pharaoh undertake a battle against him, when he will cast up ramparts and build defenses, in order to put to death many souls. For he has despised an oath, in that he broke the pact. And behold, he had given his hand. And so, since he has done all these things, he shall not escape. Because of this, thus says the Lord God, as I live, I will place upon his head the oath that he has spurned and the pact that he has betrayed. And I will spread my net over him, and he will be captured in my dragnet. And I will lead him into Babylon, and I will judge him there for the transgression by which he has despised me. And all his fugitives, with all his procession, will fall by the sword. Then the remainder will be scattered into every wind. And you shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken. Thus says the Lord God, I myself will take from the kernel of the exalted cedar, and I will establish it. I will tear off a tender twig from the top of its branches, and I will plant it on a mountain, lofty and exalted. On the sublime mountains of Israel, I will plant it. And it shall spring forth in buds and bear fruit, and it shall be a great cedar. And all the birds will live under it, and every bird will make its nest under the shadow of its branches. And all the trees of the regions will know that I, the Lord, have brought low the sublime tree, and have exalted the lowly tree, and have dried up the green tree, and have caused the dry tree to flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken and acted. And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Why is it that you circulate among yourselves this parable, as a proverb in the land of Israel, saying, The fathers ate a bitter grape, and the teeth of the sons have been affected? As I live, says the Lord God, this parable shall no longer be a proverb for you in Israel. Behold, all souls are mine. Just as the soul of the Father is mine, so also is the soul of the Son. The soul that sins, the same shall die. And if a man is just, and he accomplishes judgment and justice, and if he does not eat upon the mountains, nor lift up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, and if he has not violated the wife of his neighbor, nor approached a menstruating woman, and if he has not grieved any man, but has restored the collateral to the debtor, if he has seized nothing by violence, has given his bread to the hungry, and has covered the naked with a garment, if he has not lent upon usury, nor taken any increase, if he has averted his hand from iniquity, and has executed true judgment between man and man, if he has walked in my precepts and kept my judgments, so that he acts in accord with truth, then he is just, he shall certainly live, says the Lord God. But if he raises a son who is a robber, who sheds blood, and who does any of these things, even though he himself does not do any of these things, and who eats upon the mountains, and who defiles the wife of his neighbor, who grieves the needy and the poor, who seizes with violence, who does not restore the collateral, and who lifts up his eyes to idols, committing abomination, who lends upon usury, and who takes an increase, then shall he live? He shall not live. Since he has done all these detestable things, he shall certainly die. His blood shall be upon him. But if he raises a son, who, seeing all his father's sins that he has done, is afraid and so does not act in a way similar to him, who does not eat upon the mountains, nor lift up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, and who does not violate the wife of his neighbor, and who has not grieved any man, nor withheld the collateral, nor seized by violence, but instead has given his bread to the hungry, and has covered the naked with a garment, who has averted his hand from injuring the poor, who has not taken usury and an overabundance, who has acted according to my judgments and walked in my precepts, then this one shall not die for the iniquity of his father, instead, he shall certainly live. As for his father, because he oppressed and did violence to his brother, and worked evil in the midst of his people, behold, he has died by his own iniquity. And you say, Why has not the Son borne the iniquity of the Father? Clearly, since the Son has worked judgment and justice, has observed all my precepts, and has done them, he shall certainly live. The soul that sins, the same shall die. The Son shall not bear the iniquity of the Father, and the Father shall not bear the iniquity of the Son. The justice of the just man shall be upon himself, but the impiety of the impious man shall be upon himself. But if the impious man does penance for all his sins which he has committed, and if he keeps all my precepts, and accomplishes judgment and justice, then he shall certainly live, and he shall not die. I will not remember all his iniquities, which he has worked, by his justice, which he has worked, he shall live. How could it be my will that an impious man should die, says the Lord God, and not that he should be converted from his ways and live? But if a just man turns himself away from his justice, and does iniquity in accord with all the abominations that the impious man so often does, why should he live? All his justices, which he has accomplished, shall not be remembered. By the transgression, in which he has transgressed, and by his sin, in which he has sinned, by these he shall die. And you have said, the way of the Lord is not fair. Therefore, listen, O house of Israel. How could it be that my way is not fair? And is it not instead your ways that are perverse? For when the just man turns himself away from his justice, and commits iniquity, he shall die by this. By the injustice that he has worked, he shall die. And when the impious man turns himself away from his impiety, which he has done, and accomplishes judgment and justice, he shall cause his own soul to live. For by considering and turning himself away from all his iniquities, which he has worked, he shall certainly live, and he shall not die. And yet the sons of Israel say, the way of the Lord is not fair. How could it be that my ways are not fair, O house of Israel? And is it not instead your ways that are perverse? Therefore, O house of Israel, I will judge each one according to his ways, says the Lord God. Be converted, and do penance for all your iniquities, and then iniquity will not be your ruin. Cast all your transgressions, by which you have transgressed, away from you, and make for yourselves a new heart and a new spirit. And then why should you die, O house of Israel? For I do not desire the death of one who dies, says the Lord God. So return and live. Proverbs 13 verses 5 through 8. The just shall detest a lying word, but the impious confound and will be confounded. Justice guards the way of the innocent, but impiety undermines the sinner. One is like the rich, though he has nothing, and another is like the poor, though he has many riches. The redemption of a man's life is his riches. But he who is poor cannot tolerate correction,